Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call Thursday, March 2nd, full board meeting to order. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please sign in. Thank you. Item number 4, invocation by Commissioner Klinefelt.
Thank you, Chair. Lord, as we move through this meeting, please ensure that we do what is best for the residents of Macomb County and that we always do our work for the betterment of others and not ourselves. Make sure that we are prepared when we come into these meetings and guide us through. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Item number 5, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Motion by Drollet, second by Duge. Please vote. Motion passes. 12-0. Approval of minutes, item 6, dated February 15th, 2008. I need a motion to approve those. Motion by Sager, support by Toko. Please vote. All right, motion passes 12-0. Item number 7, public participation. Any member of the public wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, give us your name and address. You have 5 minutes, and it is related to issues on the agenda. Good afternoon.
Hi there.
Hi.
Joan Flynn, 13810 Trafalgar, Warren, Michigan, 48088. Do I have to give my phone number?
No, we all have it.
You got it. Okay, I was up here for reappointment to the Mental Health Service Board. And as I watched the tape, I realized what I said about outsourcing. You know, outsourcing is definition of service and commodities. I was talking about commodities. We are a region, and we get together at least 3 or 4 times a year with Detroit, Wayne County, and Oakland, and Macomb. And we talk about outsourcing services, like not services, about coal, about paper clips, about anything that we could buy together, and we might get a better, reasonable price. That's what I meant about outsourcing, commodities, not service. I'm not out to sell people, and I would never think to take jobs away from our staff and our clergy and everybody that works for Macomb County. So I just wanted to make it clear that I will not take jobs away from people. Union or not, no jobs. An authority is the last thing from my mind. And if you look up commodities, it does say it's to outsource to get a better price on different things. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Last time. Anybody else from the public? Seeing no one, we close public participation and we go to correspondence from the executive. I have none written on this sheet unless Executive Delden would like to correspond with us. No? No good? All right, we'll close item number 8 and we'll go to number 9, Government Operations Committee recommendations. We have Community Mental Health Services Board. We have 4 vacancies. Where is the, okay. We have 4 vacancies and we have 7 applicants. So the way we've done this in the past is we will call out, we will do a roll call vote starting alphabetical order. Give me your 4 votes. Anybody who gets over 7 or more votes will automatically be in. If we end up with one or two that don't get that way, we will re-vote again, minus the people that made the cut the first round. So did you have a question, Commissioner Kraft?
I actually had a comment, Mr. Chair, if I could, before we start. As a current member of the Community Mental Health Board, I was looking at the current members of the Community Mental Health Board that are up for reappointment. And Commissioner Romano had mentioned this at the committee meeting, and I was going to make a comment on this then, but he did, so I felt the urge not to, but now I feel the urge to say something. And it's in terms of attendance when it comes to CMH board meetings. And I looked at those of us that are running for reappointment, and I looked at the percentage of attendance for the members that are coming up. For example, Marilyn attended 96% of the meetings, Joan 93, myself 89, and Brian was at 60%. And that really bothers me, because just for being there for less than a year, I noticed he wasn't there as often as others were. And when I looked at the numbers, it shows he really wasn't there as much as others were. And I asked Barbara from CMH for an overall average from a year's worth of meetings, what the overall attendance average was in a percentage, and she said 83%. So as if I were an employer and I had an employee come to me for an annual review and they came to me and said, I'm only at work 60% of the time, I don't know if I'm going to rehire that person. So I just felt compelled to make a comment on that, because it's really been bothering me since that came up, and I just wanted to speak on that. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Kraft. Anybody else wish to speak before we get started?
I just want to speak real brief on that topic.
Thank you, Commissioner Toko.
I previously served on the Community Mental Health Board, and I know that the schedule is demanding to serve on community mental health, and there is a huge commitment. And I don't want to ever call out people personally, but since Commissioner Kraft, you made the comment, I do feel compelled to say that when I did work on community mental health with Brian, I know that there were meetings that attendance wasn't taken at that he did attend. I know that there are obligations. For example, I could never go to Lansing because of my schedule, but he could. He doesn't get a bonus point for that, and I think if you go to Lansing, you should get 2 points for that. So, because of the time commitment. So while I think we should look at attendance, I also think we should look at a person's commitment to it, a person's passion towards it, and the other things that people do, not just attending the meetings. Anybody can go sit in the seat and not do anything. And there are members of the board when I was there that didn't say much at all on the board, or didn't participate much, but they were there 100% of the time. I think you have to take in the totality of their activities on the board. And I do know that Brian does show up to other events. I know that he was very instrumental when the CMH was when we almost had to merge with another county. I know that he was instrumental and worked hard. He didn't get attendance points for that. So I would ask the board also to consider that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toko. Commissioner Romano.
Thank you, Chair. In total respect to Commissioner Toko's statements there, and I appreciate what the gentleman does for the board, but I'm sure he can do that without being appointed to the board. If he's got to attend all these other meetings, and so be it. Let him attend all these meetings, but I don't think I think that attendance is very important. To me, it is anyway. And if he decides that he has to do these other things outside of the board meeting time, I appreciate what he does, but I think he should maybe just step down from the board and do what he has to do for these other meetings. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano. Anyone else wishing to speak on this issue? Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Klinefelt, sorry about that.
I'm just going to say one thing. There's been a long history of people wanted somebody on the board, or they didn't want somebody on any board. They would call people, make their case, lobby, do whatever they do. But it's always stayed behind the scenes, and there's a reason for that. Most of these folks are volunteering a lot of their time and their energy for Macomb County. And it is very unusual for the members that are actually casting the votes to sit up here publicly and make a case rather than talking to people behind the scenes. I just hope in the future that we don't continue to participate in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers on this, we are going to start with Commissioner Brown, and speak slow. We have to write all this down. We're going to take your 4 members. Commissioner Brown.
Okay.
Mike, do you have that? All right.
My first nominee to the board is Phil Kraft.
Keep going.
My second person is Joan Flynn. My third person is Lori Phillips. And that's where I'll conclude.
You're going to vote for 3 only?
I'll vote for 3.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Carabelli is absent at this time. If he shows up before the end of the vote, we'll let him vote. Otherwise, we're moving to Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to support Phil Kraft, Joan Flynn, Lori Ann Phillips, and Lynette Olenzak.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duje.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to vote for Phil Kraft, Brian Nagovin, and Lori Phillips.
Okay, you're going to vote for 3 only?
Yep.
Thank you. Commissioner Klinefelt.
Thank you, Chair. I vote for Phil Kraft, Brian Nagovin, Joan Flynn, and Lori Ann Phillips.
Thank you, Commissioner Kraft. Commissioner Klinefelt, Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will vote for myself, Joan Flynn, Marilyn Brown, and Lori Ann Phillips.
Thank you, Commissioner Kraft. Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to vote for Phil Kraft, Lori Ann Phillips, Brian Nagovin, and Marilyn Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lucido.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to vote for Phil Kraft, Joan Flynn, Brian Nagovin, and Lori Ann Phillips.
Thank you, Commissioner Myjack.
Kraft, Nagovin, Olejniak, Phillips.
Thank you, Commissioner Romano.
Kraft, Flynn, Phillips, Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauger.
Yeah, Bloomingbird, Flynn, Olenichik, and Brian Nagovian.
Okay. I'm going to, Commissioner Smith votes for Lori Ann Phillips, Nagovin, Phil Kraft, and Olenizak. Say that 3 times. And Commissioner Toko.
Kraft, Nagovin, Olenzak, Phillips.
Okay, that concludes it. Give us 1 minute, please. Kraft, Phillips, and Nagovin.
Demand to recount.
Okay, so 3, at this time, 3 of the members have surpassed this, oh, excuse me.
4.
What's that?
4 did.
Oh, 4 did, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I thought you needed 3, 7.
No, I need, so, and Flynn, okay, I'm sorry. So we have Commissioner Joan Flynn, Joan Flynn, we have Lori Ann Phillips, we have Phil Kraft, and we have Brian Nagovin.
Right.
Congratulations, everybody. Thank you for applying. If you didn't make it, please apply again. We appreciate you coming up here and even offering your services at this time. And then we're going to need a motion to appoint. So let's make a motion to appoint and then get a second, and then if you have something to say, that'd be great.
So
you want to
moved.
make a motion by Toko to appoint, second by Commissioner Lucido. Any comments? Commissioner Leonetti, can you get me on that, please? Crystal?
For those who didn't make it, I understand there's a citizen advisory committee as well, of some sort, is that inquiry? You know, and that might be something to consider, you know, for candidates.
It doesn't work.
It's not, oh, now it is. Okay. Yeah, from what I understand, and this is just pointing out as a point of information, I guess, there is a Citizens Advisory Committee associated with the Mental Health Board. So for those candidates that did make it, I think you guys were all good, qualified candidates. It was not an easy decision. I would encourage those that did not make it to definitely look into that organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? All right. Item number 10, Finance Committee recommendations. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a vote. Please vote. I'm sorry. I figured we did enough voting. The motion will be to support and appoint the 4 members that received 7 and above votes. And I have a 12-0? Yes. It approves, it's passed 12-0. Okay, moving on to item number 10. I have some no votes in here, so if anyone would like to make a motion, maybe that we adopt A, B, and C together. Motion by Lucido, support by Kraft. Any discussion on 10A, B, or C? Seeing none, please vote. Keep me up on the speakers, please. I know, I'm just saying, I don't know if it's at the right. Motion passes 12-0. Now, if anyone would like to make a motion for 10D through J with carrying on the no votes for Commissioner Drollet, I would be entertaining.
Can't do that, the minutes don't reflect right.
Okay, I'm sorry, we'll take them individually, or you want to, we can just vote no on them.
I would just like to separate D and E, and the rest we can vote on.
D and E?
Okay, so,
Point of order.
Yeah.
Didn't we table those two?
which 2, sir?
D and E?
No, no, sir, those are the beds. These are the schematic designs, the architectural designs. We did not table those, we tabled the beds.
Why don't you just take them individually, then nobody will be confused.
Yeah, all right, so we'll go through them one at a time. We have time. So 10, just listen, it'll be just as easy. 10D, we need a motion to adopt 10D. Lucido, supported by Romano. Any discussion on these? Please vote. Yeah, 11-1. Motion passes 11-1 with Commissioner Drollet voting no. Motion for 10E, Commissioner Romano, supported by Commissioner Lucido. Any discussion on 10E? Okay, please vote. Motion passes 11-1 with Commissioner Drollet voting no.
Chair, I'd like to move items F through, I make a motion with F through J in their entirety.
I have support for that? Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Drollet to move 10F through 10J in their entirety, and support by Commissioner Duge. Any discussion on that?
Just give us a second to look through them real quick, please.
Sure, you can have a second.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no discussion, please vote. He didn't know, he wasn't here, just go with it. So motion passes 12-0. All right, give you just a second to catch up, Mr. Carabelli. We are on item number 11, ordinances. We need a motion to adopt the ordinance A to establish the compensation of Macomb County Commissioners elected. Commissioner Romano, you make that motion. Commissioner Lucido, you support it. Please let me know if you'd like to speak on this, because I'd like to speak on this just for a second, if anyone else is on this. And I don't have this up, so.
You do.
Okay, well, Commissioner Klinefelt is. Okay, Commissioner Leonetti is up on the list first.
Yeah, I have problems with this particular ordinance that was passed from yesterday. The concern is, of course, it stems from before I was a commissioner, but in all fairness, it was my understanding that the prior board had done a commission study. It had taken several of the top elected officials and gave them raises pursuant to that study, including the executive. And the way this ordinance reads that we forward it to the committee today is that all those other 5 elected officials are going to get a raise with the exception of the executive. And I just don't think that's fair.
Correction, they already received their raise.
They've
2
already
years
received
ago,
their
yes.
raises. And I understand that the executive was in an off-cycle year, but it was already decided by that previous board that the executive would be able to get that increase as well for 2018, his election cycle year. So I'm gonna let this group know I'm voting against that in fairness. It was something that was decided by a board before I was on here. I don't think I have a right to overturn whatever decisions that board made. And I also think in principles of fairness, I don't think it's fair that the other elected officials get that increase while the executive does not. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm on the list next here for real quick. I agree with you, I think, but not that we're held by what the board did 2 years ago. We are not obligated to it. However, it would make sense, and I think there was a little confusion yesterday, granted, so I think that's where this is coming from, that we did 2 years ago grant the recommended raises by the compensation study to all of the other elected officials except for the executive, which technically he wasn't up yet, so we couldn't give it to him until now. I think you're right. By all measures of fairness, we can't give it to everybody else and not, and pull one person out of this study. And I don't think that was anyone's intention yesterday. So I would recommend a no vote on this, and then we will move forward from there, if in fact that happens, with a new motion maybe to rectify that.
Point of order.
Yes.
Can we order a substitute motion?
Commissioner, right now this is...
No, I mean, a place to do what you want.
We can, but let's get through this motion first and vote it up or down. I don't think that it's going to happen up, so I think that we can get through this.
No, a substitute motion means substituting the motions in place on the floor now. All right, I'll let you.
I don't want, like yesterday, when the more things that we start substituting around, the more apt it is to get confusing. I think if I'm going to try to, it might be a little longer, but I'm going to try to keep it as clear as possible, if that's okay. So Commissioner Klinefelt.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out to the board that not only yesterday was draft 4 incorrect on the intent, but draft 1 was as well, because that was from the chair, and it says includes annual 2% raises, but doesn't list the starting salary that was voted on 2 years ago. So that's all been corrected. Bob worked very hard and Crystal worked very hard in the last 24 hours to correct that. So I don't believe everybody voted on what they thought they were voting on. I voted no, but I'll be voting in no again. And just in case there's any confusion, what's in front of us is what we voted on before. Thank you.
Commissioner Duje.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were a number of things that got confusing yesterday, but that being said, and I don't know who to ask here, if we vote this down, there's nothing on here that tells us that we can vote something new up.
As soon as someone makes a motion, Commissioner Duje.
I just want to make sure that we're doing this properly.
Right. I believe that a motion will be made if we vote this down to entertain a different scenario.
Oh, well, as long as it's upfront and legal, that's what I'm worried about.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Romano?
Without expounding a lot, I also will be voting no on this, and I agree with the commissioners that have spoken on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Toko.
Thank you. I'll be real brief. I was here 2 years ago when the issue of the raises and the compensation study came up. I voted no on the raises then. I think that I'm going to continue to say no to the raises, so I'll be voting yes on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Understandable. Seeing no one else speaking on this issue, I'd like to take a vote. Voting yes carries on what we did yesterday. Voting no kills it, and then we will be asking for a new motion. So please vote. Okay, so ordinance 11A fails 2 to 11, and I will name the yes votes, and all of the others voted no. Commissioner Kraft and Commissioner Toko voted yes, the rest of the entire board voted no. So I'll be looking for a...
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Romano?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that commissioners and the chair receive a 1% raise for 2019-2020, and that the executive starts at what was originally promised to him, $164,964 per compensation study, and he gets an additional 2% annually starting 2020 and 2022.
Do I have a second for that? Supported by Commissioner Auger. I'd like to just explain this since I redid it, and then we can look for anybody that wants to talk, or we can take a vote and, you know, pick your favorites out of this or add to it or subtract from it. These also include the other votes that we took yesterday about the meeting policy, missed meeting policy, and the added retirement option. So we removed, easy for me to say, the missed meeting policy and added the defined contribution option for commissioners. So that is draft 2 in case anybody wasn't following along with Commissioner Romano's recommendation. Can I, Commissioner Romano, would you like to speak? You're on the list here. So.
Yeah. So now I'm getting a little confused. So this missed policy,
everything is how we voted yesterday with those.
I'm fine. I have nothing else to add to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Klinefelt.
Thank you, Chair. We do have to explain to the board the discrepancies from yesterday on the defined contribution. We could have Steve do that, but we do. Okay. Number one, that it's not voluntary; it's mandatory.
Okay.
Right. And the other
Steve,
thing,
if you'd like to come up and just speak to what the defined contribution in total is, that would be great. And that also that everybody else, including Candace Miller, the Public Works Commissioner, the clerk, and the treasurer.
Correct.
Are a part of this, correct?
As you all know, effective January 1 of 16, all new employees, with the exception of the Board of Commissioners, so including all the elected officials, with the exclusion of the Board of Commissioners, are automatically enrolled in the defined contribution plan. It's a mandatory enrollment, so you don't have a choice. There's a 3% contribution by the employee, 3% of your base pay only, with an additional 6% match by the county plus an additional $100 of pay. So it's 6% plus $2,600 per employee.
Okay.
And you vest after 5 years, and after 5 years,
okay,
you have the option of increasing the employee. Let me say the employee has the option of increasing their contribution to 4% instead of 3%. And if that takes place, the county contribution doubles to 8% versus 6%.
Okay.
I should say it's double the employee match.
Right, I get it. Whatever they choose
Yeah,
to
so
go
it doesn't
up
double from 6 to 12, it goes from 6 to 8.
Okay, so it is, that's just a little more explanation on what the defined contribution is.
Correct.
So.
And I think there was some indication yesterday that it was a
It was
voluntarily,
optional.
it's
Right.
a mandatory enrollment.
No, I know, I believe he said it's mandatory.
okay, right. And I just wanted to say before I yield, the 1% as you talked about and I talked about was a kind of a negotiation between 0 and 2. What I'm also taking into account is the county commissioners that were already in the pension system. That other thing doesn't apply to them. That means they'd be the only ones not getting anything, and I don't know that that's fair either. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure, but the other commissioners that don't get the defined benefit, I believe, or defined contribution, would only be the ones that were eligible
Right,
for
all I
defined
meant
benefit.
was if the 1% doesn't pass and we end up with 0, then
Okay.
this would just be a year that would not happen to them. I was just
Okay.
defending the 1.
No, that's fine, thank
Thank
you. Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure that I understand what would happen if this proposal then passes. So we'd be eliminating the penalty for commissioners not showing up at meetings. We'd be giving ourselves a pay increase, and we'd be providing pensions for part-time elected officials. So I just want to make sure I'm clear that that's a vote we're taking. So thank you.
And
Commissioner
raising the
Toko.
executive salary.
So Steve, does your comments today change your answer from yesterday? When I asked what the cost to the county was.
It does. It does. So yesterday, the numbers I indicated didn't include the $2,600 per commissioner. So the cost is $64,400 based on today's salary. So if you do a 1%, it's
And point of information, that's based on 13 commissioners.
that's based on
being
all
enrolled
13
in, which is not the
being
case.
enrolled,
Okay.
which won't be necessarily the case today, but
But down
at
the
some
line.
point in the future.
Eventually.
Okay.
And it's a little bit more. It's about 74,600 if at some point in time everybody has over 5 years and everybody takes the additional 1%.
Right.
But if nothing happens, everybody is enrolled at some point in time, and there's the 3%, 6% plus 100 to pay. It's 64,400.
Okay.
Based on today's salaries.
Thank you.
So what does that add to the commissioner's salary on an annual basis then? Do you know? By
terms
including
of-
them in that?
Doesn't add anything.
In terms of what it adds to their
I
salary,
mean, what is it? It's to their compensation.
it's $4,700 a year for all the commissioners other than the chair, and it's about $8,000 a year for the chair based on the current salaries.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no other speakers on this, I do just want to make sure that everybody else in the county at this point is a part of either the defined benefit or the defined contribution except for us, correct?
Full-time
A
employees,
full-time-
yes, full-time,
right, full-time employees.
full-time and
which
other
is-
electeds, yes.
Okay, and all the other electeds. And the 1% raise, I would say, is commensurate with the employees' raise this year?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have. So we have a motion and a second to vote on draft number 2. Please vote. Okay, motion fails, 6-7. Noes, Duge, Myjack, Brown, Kraft, Leonetti, Toko, and Drolet. So, do we have another motion? Commissioner Duge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we go with draft 1, leaving the commissioners and chairs at the present pay schedule, and the executive be moved to the pay schedule as we voted in 2016,
And including the 2%
with his
annual
2%
increase.
and everything else.
Great, do we have a second for that?
Does that
Commi-
include the option A and B? Does that include the retirement?
Yeah.
Yes, at this point, or you could make it any way you want, but if it includes that, that's fine. I just need to know.
I make a motion for draft 1
Okay.
as written.
Thank you. Do you have a second for that? Any seconds for that? Okay, second by Commissioner Klinefelt. We have any discussion on it, or this discussion would be very similar to the last discussion, minus 1%? Okay,
The only question I have is, does that
Commissioner
mean the
Leonetti.
executive gets his 2% in 2020?
after the first year, correct.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Commissioner Klinefelt.
And if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. Obviously, there's, the change has had a change in heart. I just want to point out that as it stands now, we have a 2-tiered system of compensation for commissioners, and this would do something to alleviate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Drolet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I'm inclined to support this proposal, although I would like to see it raise the, acknowledge the 164, 964 for the executive, but not necessarily add the 2% annual pay increases that we don't know that. Okay. Thank you.
Please vote on draft number 1.
This time.
We can change our vote now that the first one failed. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
We can change our vote now that the first one failed, right?
Correct, yeah, we're just moving on until the first one passes, which actually is this one. This, draft number 1 passes 8-5. No votes, Myjack, Kraft, Lucido, Toko, and Drolet. So this is where we are. Draft number 1 passes. I need a motion to adopt that, or do we, that's the motion to adopt. Okay, great.
Moving on to resolutions.
Fantastic. Moving on to resolutions, item 12. Do we want to break these up? I believe we probably do. Why don't we start with 12A? I need a motion to adopt item 12A.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Brown, supported by Commissioner Klinefelt. Any speakers on the resolution? A is pledging a limited tax full faith and credit for the Oakland Macomb Drain Interceptor or Interceptor Drainage District Refunding Bond Series 2018. You shaking your head no? You're not? No, I don't need to unless you want me to. Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry. We have any speakers on this? Seeing none, please vote.
Voice vote on drain stuff?
It's logged up here, it's roll call. Right.
Hold on. Commissioner Duje, can you save your vote?
Commissioner Duje, could you please save your vote? It's all right. Okay, item passes 13-0. Item number 12B, resolution urging the state to pass a statewide septic code. I will say that I believe no one came up with any new wording since the last time, even though there was a lot of threats to come up with new wording for it. So we are voting on what the resolution was initially in committee the other day, I believe.
Mr. Chairman?
No? Oh, there was some changes? I'm sorry. Okay, so there was a little change in there, please.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
This is on page 49, not 50.
Okay, well, if you have trouble finding it, it's on 49, thank you. I need, thanks. I need a motion for item 12B by Lucido, supported by Commissioner Kraft. Any discussion on this? Where am I at here, Crystal? And I only asked this to keep beyond with this. Commissioner Carabelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Crystal, do you know if the young man that came here forwarded any of the information for Macomb County? He was going to disseminate all that, and I went through the emails from you, and I didn't see that part, just that you had redone it. Did we receive that?
No,
Okay.
I didn't get it.
And on that note, I'm not going to rehash my concerns. I'm not going to be supporting it. I am in support of them changing something, but I am not as clear as I need to be to support this. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Carabelli. Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was having technical difficulties with my iPad, so I was waving my hand. I am supportive of this, and I would like to be added to the list with Commissioner Lucido if this does pass, if that's all right with Commissioner Lucido. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
See no other speakers but myself. I'm going to say that although I don't like the vagueness of it, I like the idea of it. We are a downstream community who gets, for all intensive purposes, what everybody else throws away. So we can do all we want here, but this is not about what we're doing. This is about trying to get the state to encourage everybody or mandate everybody at least do something. So I'm going to be on the side of this, and I'd also like to be on that for signage. So seeing no one else, please vote.
We need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Didn't we just we had a motion? We had Lucido and Kraft.
I'm sorry.
Yes. And now, please vote. Commissioner Myjack is missing. He didn't hear this. So. You voting yes or no on this, Commissioner Myjack? Yes. Okay, motion passes 11-2 with Carabelli and Drolet voting no. Anybody like to move C and D together? 12C and D, they're both supporting Clinton Township. Motion by Duje, supported by Lucido. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes. Is this a different one?
Yeah.
Okay, motion passes 13-0. Item 13, proclamations. Is there a motion to adopt them in their entirety? Moved by Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Sauger. Any discussion on these? Guessing not. Please vote. Item passes 13-0. Thank you. Item 14, correspondence. It's in your packet, the Oakland County Board of Commissioners resolution opposing the State Budget Office proposed amendments to the Michigan Indigent Defense Act. I'd suggest you read that because we're going to have to look at something similar soon, one way or another. So I need a motion to receive and file this. Moved by Commissioner Carabelli, supported by Commissioner Leonetti. I'm just kidding. Commissioner Romano?
Romano.
All right. Any discussion? All right, please vote. All right. Item passes 13-0. New business. Any commissioners having any new business? Am I up on this yet? Details. Seeing none, we will close new business and move to public participation. Any members of the public wishing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Please come up and give us your name.
Joan Flint, 13810 Trafalgar, Warren 48088. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Macomb County Mental Health Board service for another 3 years. I will do my dedication and my caring thoughts to the public, our caring people. I also have 2 not retarded special children in my family. My one niece is 50, and the other one is 21. I've been blessed with 7 children and 14 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren, and none of them have had special needs, thank God. And I'm getting 2 more great-grandbabies this year and 2 more weddings. So thank you again, Commissioners, and I'll probably see some of you at SEMCOG.
Sounds like you're busy, Joan.
I was.
Great, thank you. Any other, you've done?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? Please come up, give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Hi.
Lori Phillips, 405-315 Plum Grove, Macomb, Michigan, 48044. I want to thank you all for your vote. I'm a little overwhelmed right now because I didn't think it was going to happen. But I will guarantee you, I will learn and I will be supporting all of my kids, adults with disabilities, and thank you very much for having faith in me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, welcome. And the last member of the public, do you wish to speak? Oh, sorry, Don, I didn't see you back there. Not the last member. All right. Hello, please give us your name and address.
Yes, I'm Monica Troniak, 17934 Martin Road in Roseville. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I'm proud to have voted for Ms. Toko in the 11th District. And as you know, people all over the county are talking about the poor conditions of the roads. And that does not surprise anyone here. I'm sure you're getting phone messages and emails and such. So I was not surprised and was very happy to hear that this board sent a strong message to the state regarding the need to fix the roads. However, I am not happy that this board approved the resolution to prioritize fixing the deteriorating roads. I feel that the resolution only puts those who use public transportation in an adversarial relationship with those who choose not to ride the buses. I believe the governor and the state legislators can address the problems of the roads without continuing to address the needs to improve mass transit. And I think I said that incorrectly. I apologize. I believe that they can address the needs of the roads along with addressing the needs of mass transit. As a person who rides the buses and also a person who rides in cars who ride on the roads, I can understand a need to fix the roads and also the need to improve mass transit. And I believe that we can do both at the same time. On a second note, I would also like to consider the board, the next time they schedule meetings, to move meetings back to the evening position. As you can see, there's just a couple of us here today from the residents who are offering comments, and I am retired, so I'm able to make this meeting, but the people who work are not usually able to meet meetings at this time or 3 o'clock. So I'd ask that the next year you consider moving your meetings back to the evening position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, any other members of the public? Does our last member of the public wish to speak? All right, seeing no other members, we'll close public participation. One quick announcement, SEMCOG is going on at the Lorenzo Center. It'd be nice if you had an extra 15 minutes. If you even stopped by and said hi to them on your way home, that would be fantastic, since it is in our community. And I need a motion to adjourn from Duge. A little slow, Commissioner Drolet, you're still second. Please vote. All right. Meeting adjourned.